Hey guys, how's it going? Comparing here. So today I'm going to talk about some detailed stuff about a particular card that was announced at BlizzCon, the upcoming 120 card pack thing coming up soon. I want to play. Card I'm going to talk about is Unstable Portal. And I'm going to talk about this card, and I want to mention that, the last video I made yesterday that kind of goes over all the cards announced. It's like 30 or 40 cards, something like that. I don't really go into too much detail. One, because, well, it's like 30 or 40 cards, and, you don't really think about it. It's kind of like the first impression on every single card. And two, because when they add that many cards, I think there's like barely over 200 cards actually in the game right now. Like at most 300. When you add that many more, everything changes. So when it comes to combining them, doing that kind of stuff, saying how good they'll be when there's that big of an addition, but you only get to see like a third of it or a fourth, you can't really have a good opinion. So, you don't take it too seriously. But we're going to go on a little bit of a limb today, and we're going to talk about this card because there has been an opinion voiced on this card, which is pretty interesting, and I'll go over that real quick. The idea is that Unstable Portal, while sometimes it will be really crappy because you'll Unstable Portal and you'll get some dumpster garbage because it's any creature, it's 2 mana. You get any creature in the game and it costs 3 less. So if you happen to get like a Wisp, well, that 0 to cast 1/1 piece of garbage is still a 0 to cast 1/1 piece of garbage. And in a lot of cases, you'll just be getting worthless crap like that. So because of that, because of the randomness, because maybe about 1 in 3, maybe 1 in 4 chance you'll actually get a 2-drop or less. I don't exactly know the odds, and because the odds will change when they add more cards to the set, approximations are pretty much going to be good enough. So about that much of the time, it's not that great of a card. But the argument is that the other times, it is a game-winning card. So the idea is if you get a 3-drop, and you play this on turn 2, you can immediately play the 3-drop, and you can get, based on what the card seems to say, you can get any 3-drop from the game, even class ones. So let's say it's turn 2, you play Stable Portal as a mage, you get like a Dark Cultist, then you play a Dark Cultist, and then your 2-drop's a Dark Cultist against, some other guy's River Crocolisk, and you can pretty much win the game from that point, understandably. The other case is that if you get a creature on the high end, so if you get like Boulderfist Ogre, Boulderfist Ogre is going to be 3 less to cast, so it's going to be a 3-mana Boulderfist. So on turn 2 you do the Portal, on turn 3 you do a Boulderfist, and the Boulderfist is pretty damn strong. And this kind of works similarly to Farsight, and Farsight is regarded as a piece of crap, but some people have used Farsight in Constructed. I know Forsen used the Farsight deck somewhat competitively. I think he actually played it at Fight Night at least a few times. And the idea behind the Farsight deck is that there is the extra value of making these cards cost a lot less so you can combo them together. And this kind of makes sense in Shaman because he was running kind of like the Crusher Shaman, where you use Ancestral Spirit and all that kind of stuff. So if you let's say get a Sunwalker with Farsight, a Sunwalker is suddenly 3 to cast. You can use Sunwalker, you can cast Ancestral Spirit on it, and then you can Faceless. So you have 2 Ancestral Spirited Sunwalkers, and you have like 4 Sunwalkers. So this combo is not normally possible because of the maximum mana you can have each turn, but because of Farsight, it becomes possible. So that's kind of the idea. However, with Unstable Portal, you don't know what you get. Combos are pretty much going to be purely accidental. So that part is a little bit taken away. But the core of the argument is fairly straightforward. It's a crappy card sometimes, but in other times, it's a pretty good and possibly game-winning card. And I kind of understand that. So I wanted to bring that idea to you guys, but also I want to give you guys my take on it. So in general, these type of cards have different circumstances in the game. So you kind of have to look at every aspect of the card to really see how good it is. Because right now this card kind of reminds me like Duplicate. Like Duplicate is pretty good. Sometimes it's ridiculous when you set up the play, but sometimes it isn't. Like your creature gets hexed, and then you have some froggies in your hand, and then you're pretty sad. And this card is going to have kind of that same effect. It's not going to hit all the time, but sometimes it's going to hit. It's going to be pretty good. And there's other things that you can do, specifically in Arena, but maybe even in Constructed, where you can't consider the fact that it's a cheap spell. So you can use this in conjunction with spell effect cards. You can use this with Archmage Antonidas if you want. You can use this with Gadgetzan Auctioneer. It's not too bad. So early game, you can try to make it into a tempo play, but if it doesn't work, you can just save it in your hand, dump the rest of your hand until you draw your Auctioneer, for instance, and then you do Auctioneer, then Unstable Portal, and then you at least get the card value out of it. It's good that it's a cheap spell in a mage deck. That kind of makes it a little bit more valuable. The other thing to consider is the combo part of the mage. While you don't really make use of specific combinations as you do in a shaman deck, for instance, like Crusher Shaman, you have the additional value that it makes your board clears more effective. And this is really important. So when you have a Flame Strike turn, usually Flame Strike is good, but if you're not at least somewhat in the game, it's often not going to save you. And that's because you Flame Strike, you clear their board, but you can't really play anything significant the same turn that you Flame Strike. So then, you Flame Strike, you have like nothing, you play like, I don't know, a River Croc, let's say, and then they play a Boulderfist Ogre. So then you have a problem because you're still behind. However, with this card, it makes it so if you do get a creature like that, you can do a board clear tempo combo, which is otherwise not possible. So there's additional value in that as well. As far as Arena goes, it's also good to know that while there are a lot of really crappy 2-in-1 drops in the game that you certainly don't want to pick up with this card, and you absolutely could, there are also a reasonable chance at some legendaries. And I would guess, now there's no way anyone could know for sure, but I would guess that out of the card pool, each of the cards individually have an equal chance of coming up through this card. And because it's Arena, and because in Arena you don't actually get legendaries or epics as frequently as you see them in Constructed, because it's kind of like you're opening a pack each time, it's RNG based, this card will pretty much come up with a disproportional amount of legendaries compared to the rest of your deck if you're playing Arena, and epics and all that kind of stuff. So that makes it, again, a little bit more valuable. So closing thoughts overall, I think this card is actually quite good. I don't really agree that it's a game-winning card because in Arena a lot of people run hard removal. So yeah, in the very good case where you do it on turn 2 and you get like a Boulderfist Ogre, you drop the Boulderfist Ogre. Yeah, it's pretty good, but on turn 3, maybe it's your opponent's 4th turn, you might have a Polymorph, you might have a Hex. There's a lot of options where it's not really that good and it can get countered. But I do want to say that I did kind of undervalue the card, and I think it will be quite a nice card in Arena. I think it is actually on a similar level to Duplicate. Duplicate has the additional value that you can pick it early, you can kind of plan to stack it, and it makes Mad Scientist very powerful if you do happen to get the card as well in your draft. So it's a little bit different with that card, but still, nonetheless, I think it's about on the same level, and I did kind of undervalue it, and, well, in the end, this card, along with many of the others, it's going to be a lot of fun to play. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it comes out in the end. And again, keep in mind, guys, so many cards are being released. To really know how good something individually is going to be at this point in time, arguably unreliable. So that's how it is. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.